We welcome you back to Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Northwind Roofing and Exteriors. Experience the Northwind Roofing and Exteriors difference, where your home's exterior is our priority. As we welcome you back for another week, we've had Coach Nagy on the show each week. Now we start to wrinkle in some of his assistants, and who else then to sprinkle in than Steve Hawkins, the associate head coach here at SIU. That has a lot of different titles as well within this program. But Coach Hawk, so great to see you, so great to have you. And, you know, we were kind of joking about it. We're been used to seem like playing every day. Now after you get this mini bye, if that's what you want to call it, in the Valley with the weekend off, folks probably think, you get all the time to yourself. You've been a little bit of a traveling man this weekend.
Yeah. We played in Chicago. Well, we showed up in Chicago. We didn't really play well. Obviously up at UIC. And then I stuck around afterwards in Chicago, had a flight out Thursday morning, went down to Dallas, where I got to watch Luke Susko play, who we signed for next year already, and watched him play. And that made me feel better because he had 28 and 17. and so we got a little taste of that and showed him a little love, as well. And then came back. That was Friday night, and then flew back Saturday morning early in time to watch our other local product, Ty Lauer, play at Pinckneyville, and he played against Carterville, and I watched him play Saturday night. And so, went home Saturday night and made sure I was still married and my kids still knew who I was. And now we're back at it here this week.
Look, and we're going to get to the team and obviously look ahead here and talk about the season at this point, but man, so much in today's day and age of college basketball feels like the here and now, because that is what people care about, is what's happening today. Gosh, sometimes high school recruiting and looking down the road almost as an afterthought now. How refreshing is it as someone who, of course, has been around basketball a long time, but not just refreshing, but encouraging, because you have some really good conversation with the guys who are coming in.
Yeah, it's tremendous, because it's still something that we want to do. We still want to recruit high school kids, and we do feel like, you see some of the coaches like a Matt Painter, like a Tom Izzo, still talking about, the damage that might be done to high school kids because of the portal. And we still feel like we can recruit good high school players and then hopefully establish good relationships with them. And they get some sweat equity involved in your program. And then they can be in your program for 2 years, 3 years, and hopefully by then they've really bought into what it is we're trying to do. And I think that, when we look at JJ, the other kid that we signed from Louisville, and Ty and Luke Susko, those are 3 high school kids that we feel really good about as we go into next year. Obviously, we're still going to have to sprinkle in some portal or something along those lines. We're going to have to bring in some experience for sure. But at the same time, we feel really good about the 3 high school kids we got.
And when you talk to them, what is encouraging for you of the conversations you have with them and how you can really tell that they're following along? Like, it's not just they're looking at a quick box score. I mean, they're watching your games and really paying close attention.
It's a great point, Luke. And I think that in year one, I know Coach Nagy's talked about this. We've certainly talked a lot about it internally. In year one, it's no secret. We had to put a team together, and great kids, but not everybody was completely what you might call Salukis, in terms of the culture that we really are trying to establish. This year, we feel like we've made a big jump. And we're seeing good results. It's still not where we want to be, but we are way more connected than what we were last year. We're way more of a family than what we were last year, and the guys are showing way more excitement about SIU. They understand the history of it, and a lot of that, Luke, has to do with the early work, the legwork that we put in the recruiting process. And we have to do a good job as assistant coaches. We have to do a good job of vetting and seeing and making sure that the guys, it's one thing to be a good player. It's not good enough. Not if you're going to play here at SIU and the way we want to do things. You can't just be a good player. You have to care. And you have to really care. You have to care about your teammates. You have to care about the university. You have to care about our tradition. Like, playing here is special. And we know it as coaches, we know it. And it's our job to make sure that we identify kids that buy into that message. I'll give you a great example. Now I'll answer your question.
Yeah.
But to give you an example, all three of these kids that committed to us early, we did not talk 1 minute about NIL. We didn't, they committed to us before they have any idea what NIL was going to look like for them. They chose us because of the program that we put together and laid out our vision for them while they're here. And then, Luke Susko, for instance, a kid from Dallas, he is wearing Coach Show out, our strength and conditioning coach. Send me more. Send me more. What should I be working on? He's videoing himself doing things down there and talking to our strength and conditioning coach about what do I need to do to get better at lateral mobility? What do you see out of my upper body strength? Ty Lauer, again, here in Pinckneyville. Coach, do you see anything? He's been at our games. What can I improve on? And so there, and when I talk with those guys, they're also, you could tell because they're talking about, hey, coach, like for instance, I was talking with Luke when I was down in Dallas Friday night. He's like, it looked in the Belmont game like you switched up ball screen coverages there about 5 minutes to go in the first half. What did you see there? And so he's not just watching, he's studying. Yeah. And he's not just a fan. He's not just saying, well, I hope the school I go to wins. He's studying. And that's really the kind of attention, that's the kind of care level that we need out of the guys that we're bringing in.
Kind of stepping away a little bit from the team and just looking at a league. I mean, you watched the games this past weekend. I mean, UIC goes on the road, beats Illinois State. Drake, who's coming here on Wednesday, up 25 on Belmont. Belmont comes all the way back to win on the road in Des Moines. Bradley holds off UNI. I mean, there's so many. Valpo battles Murray. Night in, night out in this league, there are always going to be scores that, in a way, Evansville goes on the road to get Indiana State. Like, I've kind of taught myself to, hey, Luke, when you hit refresh on ESPN, don't be surprised.
Right.
Because it's just the way it's been, and even throughout my years. But this year, more than ever, Coach Hawk, I don't know what the term is. I don't know if you want to say it's balance, parity, whatever it is. But, man, on a night in, night out basis, I know we didn't feel great about how the Salukis played on Wednesday in Chicago, and that doesn't take anything away. But UIC played their tails off, and they did, and you tip your cap to them, and they showed it again on the weekend against Illinois State. How do you process, as a guy who's been in multiple different leagues, been at multiple different levels, of just the competitive nature in the league this year? It seems like more than any other year.
It's unbelievable. And it's probably a terrible thing to say because, as I mentioned, I think I told Coach, I called Coach from Dallas when I was in Dallas, and we talked about the ball game against UIC, and I said I think I felt worse after that game than any other game since we have been here, including last year. And the reason is because I felt like we did not play hard. And that's rare for this group. We have not had to talk about that this year. We weren't really there mentally in the North Dakota State game, but we physically played pretty hard. But we missed some things. We weren't, like I said, we weren't mentally locked in that game. We weren't concentrating. But the UIC game, we truly did not play physically and mentally, and that's difficult to take. So, excuse me, I go back to the room, to the hotel room that night when the team's on the way, and I'm checking the scores, and I see that Valpo has beat Illinois State. And here's a team that had not won a game, neither had UIC, and Illinois State had not lost a game. And I thought, and we know how good Valpo is. It's like every time I turn around and look at film, it's like, okay, well, these guys are on 4. And then I watch them on film, like, oh, you got to be kidding me. I just don't see, I know where Murray is in terms of standings. And they've played, I think, 4 road games the entire season. I'm talking about non-conference as well as conference. And so they've been able to get them in Belmont, but Belmont's played quite a bit on the road, but they've been able to get their sea legs. They've been able to really get a lot of confidence with the way that they're playing. and they're pulling out close games. It's not like they're blowing anybody out either. So yeah, there's if somebody wants to, let's see what happens when we get to halfway point of the season and maybe 12 games into the season and see if we can really solidly identify a top of the league and a bottom of the league. Because right now, if you're just forget about records. If you're just watching the teams play, I'm not sure who's who.
And you look at a lot of those teams. Take Murray, for example, a team that we saw earlier in the league right after Christmas, down 20. Looks like things aren't going well. We know how talented they are offensively. Yet you guys fought all the way back to tie the game. There's a lot of teams. I think there's a lot of good teams in this league. Right now, it's not quite like a year ago where Drake was kind of out in front and everybody knew they were chasing them. Year prior to that, before you got into the league, Indiana State and Drake were kind of two teams that were out in front, everybody chasing them. But right now it's more of looking around the league and hey, there's going to be games that get out of hand and that happens, but more times than not, man, it's going to be a gridded out battle each and every in a league that's good. I mean, the league is good, ninth in all the metrics that you look at, Coach Hawk.
Yeah, it is. And I was talking when I was talking to Coach again, and then I was talking to somebody, a couple of AAU coaches when I was in Dallas. I said, the thing about the league this year, and there's other leagues like this too, but if you don't bring it, I mean, really bring it, you're not just going to get beat. You're going to get beat down. Like it's going to be, you're going to find yourself like where we were in the UIC game, where all of a sudden you're down 15-16 and getting back in to Valley games is not an easy thing to do. Like what Belmont did in coming back from 25 down on the road, that's a really difficult thing to do. And so it is. It's one of those. It's so difficult to convey, to get across the understanding of every single possession. If you get an open basket, if you get an open look at the rim, like you're excited about it. If you miss it, it's like the end of the world because open shots just don't come around very often. And so it's a grind. It's a real grind, but it's a lot of fun. This
Yeah.
makes, if you're truly a competitor, this is what you want. If you're not a competitor, this is a man's league this year. You better be a man if you're going to step on the court in the league this year.
And for our fans, and I've tried to relay it through all the different platforms that we have, even back to the mid 2000s when this league was a multi-bid league. You look at a lot of the ranking, net wasn't around then, but Ken Palm was only 2 spots off of where the league was. It was about 7th in terms of the conference rankings. Right now, the league is 9th. I always hear, man, Luke, I just don't think the league's as good as what it was. And I try to communicate it through whether it's numbers, analytical data, you as a coach. I mean, just all the numbers you can pull, but just the talent. I mean, you're going to see dudes that are playing in our league now. They're going to be playing the Ultimate League in the NBA, and that's shown throughout. I mean, it's a great opportunity for our smart fan base that is such a basketball savvy. I mean, yeah, you want to come and support the Salukis. They're going to do that on Wednesday. But I mean, you're going to see some great talent in this league, Coach Hawk, night in, night out.
You really are, and the other thing about it is you're going to see some teams that are very well coached.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of, coming from other leagues, coming into this league. The one thing that I've found, and especially, now that I'm over the defense, is, I go home at night and I watch, so we play a ball game. After we play the game, you go home and you watch the game film. And I'm, I get through with it, I clip it up, and then these are all the clips that I want to show the guys the next day in practice, and then we put a wrap on it. So it's like, here are the things we did good, here are the things we did bad, and then that's what I do then. But as soon as that's over with, then I start watching our next opponent that night. So like take, for instance, Belmont, I come home, I'm in a pretty good mood because we won the game, but I still see a lot of the mistakes we made defensively. And then I'm still in a good mood. And then I put up UIC and then I go to bed in a bad mood,
Yeah.
because I see what they are and I see how scrappy they are and how hard they play and some of the things that they're going to do to cause us problems. And and they're such a good offensive rebounding team. We knew that going in. So yeah, it's a really well coached league. There's a lot of talent in the league. Sometimes it may not look like that. Like somebody they were talking about Tyler Lundblade, and a buddy of mine that lives in Nashville, and I said, in my opinion, he's a pro. Yeah, he's going to be in the league, in my opinion. Now I'm not. It's not my job, but
Yeah.
I do know the NBA well enough to know that if you take a 6'5", 6'6" shooter and stand him out in a corner, everybody else gets to play 4-on-4. Because you cannot leave that guy open, and we did a really good job against him. And I was really proud of the kid's effort against him. And afterwards, the guy said, I don't see what the big deal is. And I said, good. Then we did our job. I'd love for other people to be like, yeah, I didn't see what the big deal was. I didn't think that guy was that good. And it's like, good. Then we did our job. But night in, night out, you're going to be faced with different challenges.
Let's end it on the Salukis. Look, there's always things where you can overanalyze things with time, but one of the points I think is really worth reiterating what you said. We talked about a lot of games, some disappointing, some thrilling throughout the year. But one of the things that's not been a talking point of common has been whether the Salukis play hard. And that's what made last week really tough against UIC. Knowing there's been a little bit more time, has that been good for the group to have a little bit more time here, Coach Hawk, to, I don't know, refocus, retool, whatever way you want to describe it? Or would you have wished, I'm sure as a coach, you're probably like, let's get back out there and play some, but did somewhat the off weekend come at a good time for this group?
I think so. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have come in a lot better after a dub, because then you probably go into everything, feeling a little bit better about it. So to have to sit with that in your stomach for a week, but at the same time, and as a coach, you can't, there's an old Coach Wooden saying the only person an excuse relieves is the person giving it, and so we're tired. We've been on the road a lot. A lot,
Yeah.
and I can only remember in all my years of coaching, one year when I was head coach at Western Michigan, we had a year where we played in Puerto Rico, and then we came back and we we played at Purdue. Then we ended up out at Gonzaga as well, and we were crisscrossing the country. And we've done that this year: Nevada to Richmond, to North Dakota to North Carolina, Florida, and then the conference themselves. I'm not We're all going to eventually. We're all playing each other twice. So, but everybody, in my experience, you hate to say it, you hate to see it. You play 30 games in a year, there's going to be a couple of duds, just flat out duds, where you throw out there, and whether the stars aren't aligned right, whether the wind is blown from the east that day instead of the west, you just don't have it, and the other team does. And did that happen against UIC? Maybe. But that would also be taking away a lot from what UIC did, because that's a hungry group, and when you look at this past week, when you look at Valpo and you look at UIC, who had not won games coming into it, and then they're going to change things. The teams that are winning don't change a lot because it's working. The teams that are losing, they start, whether it's lineup changes, player evaluations, or whether it's different things offensively or defensively, adjustments start to get made. For us, this break, I think, can come at a good time, because, like, I don't know how many games we're 17. I think we've had 6 home games.
Yeah.
Okay, we've played 17
You played
games.
11 away from home, counting your neutral site and true road games. I believe 9 true road games.
and which I know is the most in the league.
Yeah.
And again, the schedule, I don't want to say turns in our favor because of who we're playing, but the fact that we're going to see more home games now than what we've seen all year long. is something that we could really, really use. We could use the fans. We could use the home cooked meals, our own bed.
Yeah.
So I think that part of things comes at a good time, allows us all to kind of get a breath and get our sea legs.
And finally, Coach Hawk, I mean, so many people want to maybe say, okay, it's about your opponent. And you look at Drake, man, a heartbreaker at home against Belmont. Game before that, got beat pretty good on the road at Bradley. But you could say, man, how's Drake going to feel? That's really regardless, right? It's about, hey, we only care about how the Salukis are primed and ready for Wednesday night. And then Drake's going to give you your best shot.
Yeah, the opponent is yourself. Every night the opponent is yourself. There's another team that's going to show up in a different colored jersey, but what we're trying to get across is we don't want to play to goals. We play to standards. When I love, as we tape this, what Coach Sig has done at Indiana with football, and he's speaking in the same way that we speak in terms of standards, not goals. Like, you play to the standard. And that's what we're trying to do. There's a standard we're trying to play to. We should be running our fast break no matter what the situation is, up 20, down 20. We should be fighting through screens or switching when we're supposed to switch, or whatever the ball screen coverage is. We should be doing that, whether up 20 or down 20. You look at Drake, okay, and Drake was down by 30 or whatever at Bradley. 3 days later, they're up by 25 against Belmont. And they're trying to find consistency also, just the way that all the rest of us are. So yeah, for us, we have to concentrate on our standard. We have to concentrate on Saluki basketball, what it means. We're getting, the thing that we've been really bothered about is getting out rebounded. We're not being physical enough. That's not who we want to be. And our whole basketball philosophy is defend, rebound, run. And right now we feel like we're defending, but we're not rebounding and running the way we need to.
Caden Hawkins is going to come in here after you. No relation,
No.
but got the Hawkins name. Both Dodger fans.
Huge.
Which that's a good for you guys. It's
Huge
a good
Dodger
bond.
fan, yes.
But for fans or whatever can look at numbers and go, man, I don't see Hawk in a lot of games. Must be a guy that isn't very well trusted. Couldn't it be polar opposite of you guys as a staff? Can you really touch up on about the importance of a guy that Caden Hawkins plays within the program, and also how important of a role that he's going to have in future games to come?
You should ask Seahawk when he comes in about Will Klein, from the Dodgers. He doesn't get a lot of innings pitched, and all of a sudden out of the bullpen in the World Series, he has to go 3 innings in an 18-inning game. And the reason I bring that up in all seriousness is I've talked to Seahawk and I told him, listen, your situation, going back to our baseball, we both love baseball, both love the Dodgers. So you're like a relief pitcher when you come to the ballpark, and that you don't know if you're coming in or not, but you have to be ready. And you may come in and face a batter, or 2 batters. You may come in and have to face or get 3 innings, and you may not get in for a week, as well. And you got to find a way to stay sharp. His value is not just like Luke Walsh and Daniel Palaconos. I mean, they're redshirting, so their job is to not just get better, but also it's part of the scout team and to help us get ready for our next opponent. Seahawk is one of those guys that is working on the scout team, but at the same time, he also has to be ready to play. And there's no question in my mind, we're going to need him at some point in time this year, probably quick. We're going to need him because we're not shooting the ball well from 3. He can knock down shots. He's a coach's son. He's really smart, and he's tough as nails. And he's been on the outside looking in, but it would not surprise me at all if he doesn't get a look here pretty quick.
Coach Hawkins, appreciate the time, and it's going to be a lot of games here down the stretch. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, can't wait, Luke. Can't wait.
Once
Thanks.
again, that was
Go
Steve
Dogs.
Hawkins. Yes, go Dogs indeed. We'll be right back here on Inside Saluki Athletics with Caden Hawkins. As Inside Saluki Athletics is presented by Northwind Roofing and Exteriors. They specialize in enhancing and protecting the external elements of your home, serving the communities of Williamson, Franklin, and Jackson counties. Give them a call today at 618-713-1381. Caden Hawkins is next. Welcome everybody back to Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Northwind Roofing and Exteriors. Northwind Roofing and Exteriors, our dedicated team, brings precision and expertise to every project, ensuring your home not only looks its best, but is also well guarded against the elements. Well, we promised you he was coming on the show. Caden Hawkins is here, of course, local here in the Carbondale area, grew up in Carterville, now playing for the Salukis as this year continues to roll along. And Seahawk, we appreciate the time. Of course, we had to get both Hawkins on. You know, we got
Right.
Coach Hawkins at the start, you, and just to make sure you're related to a much better looking Hawkins, right?
Oh, I wouldn't say that anyway, but
Yeah, so I mean, that's a joke, Coach Hawk. But man, you know, it's weird, you know, when you have the bye this weekend
Yeah.
where it feels like we've played every day since the start of this thing. I know we had the mini Christmas break there, but what was it like this weekend to not play? I mean, it had to feel a little bit odd
was-
after just the stretch run we've been on.
yeah, it was odd. I feel like since we started playing, it's feel like if we're going on trips, we're gone playing and then coming back and then we're gone the next day. So, we got a little break at Christmas, and then we were right back to work on the day after Christmas. So I've been back to it. So.
How would you describe the season at this point, Seahawk, for you guys?
Yeah, I feel like we're definitely getting better. We've grown a bunch since the start of the season, especially on the defensive end, I feel like. Defensively, we struggled a little bit early. We're fighting our way, battling more in conference games. Now we just gotta put everything together now. So
Look, it's the league's really good. And you look at this past weekend, you'll watch many other games. UIC, who we just saw last week, they go on the road and beat Illinois State. Drake, who you have coming in here on Wednesday night, was up 25 on Belmont, and Belmont found a way to come back in. Even though it's your first year here, being around practice, you have the way you carry yourself, I think matters with this team. You carry yourself with a level of confidence that this group needs. How you try to get this ship consistent? 'Cause I know that's what you guys are trying to aim for, not just to have all these extreme highs and extreme lows.
Yep.
You want to be as consistent as possible.
yeah, I think the main thing is just coming in, trying to be consistent every single day in practice. You can't try to say you're gonna be consistent just like show up every game day and try to be consistent or as good as you were the last game. It's got to be every film session, every day in practice, every day in weights. Just trying to stay consistent. And that goes for everybody on the team. It's got to be consistency across the board.
How do you do that each and every day? And because it's clear, I mean, I see at practice, I mean, you guys and the team I don't want to imply like, oh man, there's not a lot of consistent guys every day in practice, but you are no doubt one of them. How have you tried to just make sure, hey, you know, whether there's a lot of playing time, whether there's a little playing time, you find a way to say, hey, I know this is what I need to do today to help this team.
Yeah, I think that goes with like where I come from. I want to win, and I know wanting to win. If you're gonna win, you got to be consistent. If I show consistency, maybe that goes to somebody else, and they're like, "Well, Seahawks bringing it every single day." So, that's just a way for me to try to be a leader without saying anything. Just trying to bring it every single day, and hopefully that rubs off on some dudes.
Now, here we are. We're almost halfway through the month of January, and there's still a lot of basketball left to go this year, Seahawk. How has your year been? Like, how would you describe it in terms of wanting to join the program, and has it been what you wanted it to be?
Yeah, it's been special. It's been everything and more that I've wanted out of this. It's probably the first team that I've really felt really connected. Like our guys in the locker room, we're all really connected. We all get along. So that's definitely a big part of it.
It's been an area that I've touched up on with many of your teammates throughout this year, whether it's on a radio show, whether it's this show, whether it's other platforms, that you guys really do enjoy being around each other. And like, can you put the fans through of, man, when a result happens like it did in Chicago, which none of you guys wanted,
Right.
in terms of the energy level, et cetera, the execution wasn't there where you wanted. How do you guys rebound so easily, I guess is my question, and put the fans in that perspective, what practices were like after that disappointing result?
Yeah, I think you never want a result like that, but when you got like a close-knit group of guys, it just makes you want to play harder for each other. You're not playing so much. We're not playing selfishly. We're wanting to go play harder for the guy next to us. And after after that game on Wednesday at Chicago, we got after it 2 days last week. So, I think that just put us back in the right headspace, got us back to competing. So we can go compete twice this week.
Coach Nagy has said it countless times, even though he's not on the show this week for me to ask him. I know we talked about with Coach Hawk in segment one, and it was their trust, the coach's trust, really not even just the coach's trust, but the team's trust in you. Now, many would go, man, I mean, how do they trust him? Like his minutes are where
Yeah.
it's at. But at any given time within a game, there is no hesitation from that coaching staff to go, Seahawk, get into the game. Um, what it means to one, have that trust, and two, to know that, hey, even though, again, the minutes may not be there each and every night for you, you know the role you fill for this group, and you know that role may be needed on any given night, and
Yeah.
it may be really needed here on Wednesday against Drake.
Yeah, 100%. Coach Hawk, he calls me like the middle relief guy. We're both Dodgers fans, so he calls me the middle relief guy. Like, I could go in for a couple minutes, or I could have a bigger role if we get some guys in foul trouble. But yeah, just knowing my opportunities there and just awaiting for that, and going out and I'm gonna give my 110% every single time. So
The fact that you admitted that you're a Dodgers fan really disappoints me.
I know it.
Hawk.
I know it.
That's an area that we'll let if I would have known that, you probably wouldn't have come on.
That's
the show.
fine. I know it. I know. I get that a lot. So
No, you do. Look, I know you get asked about your dad, obviously, all the time. But with you being here, being part of the program, I know different eras, but how much has it helped to have someone like your dad and Shane, who, of course, I'm referring to, who was your high school coach and done a great job at Carterville still as a high school coach, of kind of understanding what it means to wear the jersey, but also to just, hey, if there is anything that you need to bounce off of them, you obviously have a great resource.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like he obviously went through it, even through like the whole recruiting process. It was like he went through it. So I was like my go-to when I was going through anything. He was real easy to talk to about it. He understood everything I was going to. He tried to take a little bit of the stress off. But as for wearing a Saluki's jersey, it's just it's special to wear that because I've been growing up with one my entire life. So it's real special.
What is the best piece of advice that your dad has given you? Now, I'm sure there's a lot of advice even outside of basketball, but from the standpoint of what he's helped you from a basketball area, where would you say, yep, that's something that my dad's really helped me in?
I would say like what we talked about, being consistent. Like, people take notice of that and being consistent every single day. It's not something everybody can do or everybody does at least. Being consistent, in competing in practice, competing in games, just being a competitor.
That competitor side, and this team at times has shown, man, go on the road, beat Belmont,
Yeah.
extremely a really great high. What does this group, we talked about the consistency piece earlier, but what is something clear, Caden, that you have seen throughout this year that you've seen in games? I mean, when things are going right, this is a clear strength of this basketball team.
Yeah, I think like our dudes want to compete, obviously. The one thing I would say is like when we get that ball moving on offense and it touches hands and it's swinging sides of the floor, we're really dangerous on offense. We got a bunch of dudes that are really, really good offensively. And that when we shoot it well or we're playing well offensively, it should be the other way, but it just gets our defense so much better as well. So
As someone who's got to go up against them, play with them, can you even put in the words the type of level of speed that Kelrun has, and especially obviously in the late game situation at Belmont to be able to pull off a play like that?
man, because I guard him every day pretty much in practice. So it is crazy, and the fact like how fast he got down the floor, it might not be able to tell it on the screen, but as he's running by your face, you can realize how fast he's going. So
Of course, Q guy who, and the thing that amazes me is why I think we all can get caught up in is that he is still a young player.
Oh,
Yeah, only a sophomore,
Yeah.
and he carries himself in a really good way. Where sometimes I feel like people have the expectation of him being like a fifth-year senior.
100%.
But then you turn it, and another young guy in Jalen Haynes.
Yeah.
How have you tried to be a really good influence on him this year? And what are areas that are no question that he's improved at since maybe when he first got here back in June?
Yeah, I think like I even forget that Q's not older than me. I feel like
Yeah.
we're like he's only a year younger than me, but just the basketball knowledge that he has and the pace that he plays with is really, really good. And same with Jalen. Jalen's a freshman and he plays really, really well. Like he plays his tail off. So, just trying to make an impact, keeping those guys calm when they're out playing, being supportive on the bench and stuff like that.
I'm sure as a player, when you think of now, look, there's going to be a lot of games now here through the rest of the season, not a ton of rest. I believe the next, I guess, off time for this team is actually the weekend after for your last game, which is right before Arch Madness.
Yeah.
But in terms of from a player mindset, how helpful was it that your bye came at this time where it comes after a disappointing result, which really, I'm sure, probably increases your appetite to want to get back out on the floor?
Yeah, and we got a big week this week. Drake and Belmont, like that's a big week. Drake's been playing really well, and Belmont's a really good team. I think that loss at Chicago, that kind of lighted a little fire under our tails. We competed two days last week, so I think we're ready to get after it this week.
Seahawk, one of the great areas that you have continued to show within this program and this team is just, again, that commitment level, that fire. What has you excited that, hey, this group is going to respond the right way here on Wednesday?
Yeah, I know these guys. I've spent the last however long with them since we got here in June. I've got to know these guys. We're all really close. I know these dudes are here to compete and they want to win. So that's the main thing for me. I know these dudes want to win.
And then I guess the last question is like, what's the impact of this team? But man, it seems like every one of you guys are getting engaged every other day.
I know it. We got 3. I know Jorge asked Coach Nagy, he was like, this has got to be like the most players you've had engaged at a time on a team. And he was like, I would say it's got to be. So
it's amazing.
I know it.
Amazing to see that. And I'm sure, hey, still happy in that role, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
We were joking about coming on the air, even though with a puppy right now,
right.
I'm sure that just makes the joys of it even more.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're excited. So we're excited to get there. I got a lot of wedding planning right now, but we're getting there. So
a lot of wedding planning. Yeah. Like we joked, there's a lot of puppies around this program.
I know it. Yeah.
Barkley new.
Yeah.
It's crazy. All the love around Yankee basketball. Seahawk, we appreciate the time, man. Thanks so much for coming on.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Once again, that was Caden Hawkins. Join us here on Inside Saluki Athletics. That does it for our show this week. We want to remind you to come out to Banterra Center on Wednesday night to check out the Salukis and Drake Bulldogs. Speaking of dogs, the Battle of the Dogs on Wednesday night. This has been Inside Saluki Athletics, presented by Northwind Roofing and Exteriors. They specialize in enhancing and protecting the external elements of your home, serving the communities of Williamson, Franklin, and Jackson counties. Give them a call today at 618-713-1381. Big thank you to Caden Hawkins and Steve Hawkins for joining us on the show today. We will talk to you Wednesday night from Banterra, Saluki Nation. Go Dogs!